And then Joe was asking me at the break about the place of breath within, and I don't want to misinterpret his question, but let me speak to it also from my own experience. There are two observations that I'd offer to you, and I hope not at the risk of confusing. Let me go back to the symbol of consent. The symbol of consent in the practice of centering prayer, we suggest, is a sacred word, a word like Jesus, Lord, Yahweh. As Father Thomas began this experience, really bringing this practice, mainstreaming it, so to speak, he would, and the date that I would identify would be 1983, when Father Thomas really began to literally move out of the monastery and make himself more available to ordinary folks just like us. He was very, very clear that the symbol of consent was the sacred word, and that's very clearly described, in the methodology. But as he moved around and chatted with people like ourselves, a number of people began to say to him, experientially, that the word didn't do it for them. And you began to become aware that there are a couple of different types of personality. We might describe an auditory type of person and a more visual type of person. Well, for the auditory type of person, and I feel I fall into that category, if you will, without judging or narrowing the playing field. So for me, the word is fine. Always has been. I can kind of, sink into that. But for those who are more visual, Thomas went on to expand the teaching by suggesting breath and image. So we have, in a good sense, in a creative way, we have three choices: word, image, or breath. However, given the receptive nature of centering prayer, if you choose sacred breath as the symbol of your consent, you only notice your breath, if you will. You only notice your breath when you become aware you're engaged. During the prayer, you're not concentrating on your breath, just to make that distinction without confusing. And it would be the same with image. If image becomes the symbol of your consent because you are more visual by nature, it's an undifferentiated type of image, an image like a soft color, like a soft yellow, and you only recall the image whenever you become aware you're engaged. But it was just Father Thomas's way of kind of broadening the teaching to accommodate people who may be a bit different in terms of what is most helpful for them, because in the three choices, it's all about acknowledging the symbol of your consent, and that when you recall those symbols, it's simply a way of consenting to the love and to the presence and to the action of God closer to you than you are to yourself.